Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome to the Mental Wellness Wake Up Show, the place to be to learn tips and tools from both spirituality and psychology that create lasting well being. I am your host, mental wellness expert, and theater creator, Dawn McMillan. Thanks for being here. All right, you gorgeous person, you beautiful being, you. I just got back from walking the dogs, and I was thinking about stuff, as often happens when people walk. In fact, thinking due to walking is one of the most common ways in which great creators in the past and present have come up with some of their most transformational ideas. I'm not promising you that this one is wildly transformational, but I hope it is in fact helpful. What I want to talk about today is denial and delulu. Denial and delulu, meaning being delusional, are aspects of the human experience that we all engage in which we all participate in. And there's this idea that those two ways of being are universally bad, always to be overcome. I would like to offer a different perspective. But before we get into that, hi. Thank you for being here. If this is your first time here, oh my gosh, I'm so honored. Thank you. Thank you for coming. And thank you to whomever or however you came to find our little podcast. And if you're back, did you get even better looking than last time I saw you? Oh my goodness. You look great. Thanks for coming. If you want to work with me as a mental health coach, what? Dawn does mental health coaching? I sure do. And the beauty of that is that you can do that from anywhere in the world. So if you'd like to work with me on one-to-one basis to improve your well-being, your functioning, and your joy, check out thedawnmcmillan.com and you can find out more. All right. Delulu, denial and delulu. So in the recovery literature and the recovery communities, denial is always a bad thing. Denial is you pretending like you don't have a problem. And then in the grief work, denial is a stage to be overcome. By the way, the 5 stages of grief model has been debunked. One of the problems I have with the medical model being applied to psychotherapy, psychology, and philosophy, the human heart, the human psyche, the human mind is rarely, if ever, linear. And yet we keep trying to approach it as if it is. That is the problem with the grief model where there are 5 stages of grief. There are not. There are 112 stages of grief, and they do not come in an order. They occur simultaneously. They spin around. They make new forms. Grief is not definable by levels and stages. Okay. In any case, denial. So denial is not a stage to be overcome, and it's not necessarily always something to be criticized and condemned. There is a place for denial, and there's a place for, air quotes, delusion, being delulu, that can be wildly helpful. In fact, if we did not engage in a little bit of denial and delusion all the time, we wouldn't be functional at all. Who do you know that volunteers and says, you know what, I'm actually a pretty below average driver? Somebody has to be. That's the whole thing about average, right? Some people are going to be exceptional drivers, and some people are going to be not so good drivers. And some people are going to be just pretty darned average. But if you ask anyone, if you are a good driver who drives, very few people are going to be like, oh, I'm terrible, actually. I'm a terrible driver. Very few people are going to be like, probably about average. Most people, the average of people, are what's the one that's the mode. Most people are going to be like, no, I'm a pretty good driver. Statistically impossible, right? So we delude ourselves all of the time. We deny reality all of the time. And in part because we have to. We've talked about this a little bit before on this podcast. You are taking in so much more information than you can even begin to think about processing. So there is a way in which you can consider that you are in denial of reality because there's so many parts of it currently that you are ignoring. Your mind body is ignoring so much. So the good part of denial is about changing your inner narrative. I'm going to give you an example that came to me while I was out walking. But first, I'm going to take a quick little drink here. All right, the good part of denial can be in relationship to those things that you no longer wish to participate in. What I was thinking about is the way that we project points of view onto other people. I did a podcast about this a while back, and in psychological literature, it's called projection. It can be called attribution, and in improv, it's called endowment. So let's say you and I are doing an improv scene, and I turn to you and I say, "Oh my gosh, Lucy, as the greatest Egyptologist in the world, I would think you could at least manage to read the directions on the cake mix." Now, what have I done? In this scene, I've just told you that your name is Lucy. You're the greatest Egyptologist in the world. We're making a cake, and I don't think you're doing it right. That's endowment. We do that all of the time. We are always endowing people with our points of view. We're projecting onto them who we think that they are. And what I was thinking about this morning is a relationship that I'm not comfortable with right now. And I was like, I don't love being uncomfortable in relationships. And so I'm like, what's going on? And I realized that this particular person has been endowing me and projecting onto me certain points of view that I have no desire to participate in. Like, no. And that's what the kind of denial that I'm talking about. Oh, someone walks up to you and either literally or imaginatively is like, "Oh, you're the kind of person who." And denial would be you and your mind being, "Oh, no, thank you. No, I don't accept that. I don't accept that." The most obvious example, at least in my mind from my experience, is bigotry, right? I can't even tell you how many times people have walked up to me and started sentences with, "Oh, I bet you," and then insert some stereotype. To which I have the power of denial to say, no, thank you. I don't accept that. I don't choose that. There's also a place for denial and delusion in poor diagnoses. Poor diagnoses. If you go to your doctor and your doctor tells you, "Oh, you have that thing, it's not looking good, I give you a month." Here's where your friend denial comes in real handy. Not denial that there is a situation that requires your attention, but denial in that stupid prognosis. 4 out of 5 people, blah, blah, blah. You're like, well, I deny that. I'm going to be the 1 out of 5. I refuse to accept your narrative about me. That's what I mean about denial. I refuse to accept this narrative about me. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, I'm not having that. Oh, you're the kind of person who, no, thank you. No, thank you. I am not having that. And so there is this place of just flat out no. People will say things like, "Oh, you're never going to get over that." Oh, yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. I deny that projection from you. So I'm talking about the denial of the attributions, the endowments, the projections that do not serve the most delightful, desirable version of yourself that you are creating. I also invite you to deny the stories you've been telling yourself about who you were and therefore who you are and therefore who you have to be. I'm leaning into this reframe of my own training as a psychotherapist away from etiology, focus on causes, towards teleology, a focus on meaning. If you look around, the way that we've been doing things, at least in the United States of America in 2020, what year is this? 4? is not creating a joyful populace. Mental health issues are on the rise. Some of it is that we're recognizing it more. Some of it is we love creating new identities for ourselves. But I think most of it is that our society is broken in many ways. And so focusing on, I need to know the cause in order to find the treatment in order to make it better. That is true in engineering. It is so true in engineering. Human hearts and human beings and human psyches, we are not an engineering problem. We're just not. We're just not. It's like the analogy I've used before. Like if you buy a house and you discover that there's sewage in the basement, spending all of your time wondering why the prior owners left sewage in the basement is a complete waste of time. The focus is on how do we get the sewage out of the basement and prevent that from happening in the future. So there's subtlety here. But really the point is, if something does not serve your well-being, get into denial. Not in a head in the sand kind of, I don't want to think about it kind of way, but in a way that serves the outcomes that you most wish to create. So let's say that all evidence points to you having massively lost an election. I'm not saying that you deny that you lost the election. I'm saying that you could choose to deny that that means that you have no place in public life. Let's say your 8th grade art teacher told you that you're never going to amount to anything because your Dalmatian looked like a cow. I'm not telling you to deny that that happened. You can. Memory is faulty and not all that useful most of the time. But if you are really committed to that memory is true, you don't have to deny that it happened. You can deny what it supposedly means. My 8th grade art teacher told me I'm a terrible artist. I rebuke and deny that. I cancel and delete all of that. I refuse to let that define me. I can be the best artist in the world if I put my mind to it. That's the kind of denial. That's the kind of delulu that I'm talking about. There's a fake it till you make it kind of maxim in American culture. And that's denial and delulu. That's being delusional. I was just reading about Josh Waitzkin, who was a chess prodigy who then became a martial arts champion. And one of the ways that he became a martial arts champion but was consistently sparring with people who are way better than him. Way, way, way better than him. And what that did is it's sort of a form of delusion. Like, these are my peers, right? He was acting as if these are my peers. These are the people at my level. I'm going to act as if they are. Well, of course, he got his butt kicked over and over and over and over and over and over and over again until he didn't, until those were his peers. Denial. Oh, I'm just a beginner. I can't possibly spar with that person. Deny that. Okay. Well, yes, I'm a beginner and I can spar with that person because they're my true peers. And the more I practice with them, excuse me, the more true that will be. So let's make this actionable. What isn't working for you? Deny the heck out of that. Deny the heck out of that and replace it with a delulu, with a delusion that you can make true. That you can make true. Recently working with someone, I have no friends. I would invite you, if that's the kind of situation that you might find yourself in, to deny the heck out of it. Delude yourself. Of course I have friends. I'm a likable person. Let me go look for them. Oh, that friendly barista is actually a little extra friendly. Maybe they might enjoy being my friend. Deny what doesn't work for you in terms of its meaning. In terms of its meaning. Not what has happened. Don't deny what has happened unless you want to. Don't deny what has happened. Deny that it has to mean the thing that doesn't work for you. and use our beautiful powers of delusion to begin to walk in the reality that you would prefer. Spar with people better than you. Learn the music piece that you can't even begin to fathom how to play. Shoot for the job you can't even imagine someone hiring you for. One of my acting teachers always said, never call cut on yourself. Basically meaning you walk into that audition and you keep going as if that part is yours until someone kicks you out of the room. Never call cut on yourself. So deny meanings that don't work for you and delude yourself into believing the ones that do, and begin to walk in that faith. Begin to act as if. Begin to fake it until you make it. And enjoy the fruits of your denial and your delusion. Are you willing to play with this? We're not denying what has happened. We're not even denying what is. We're using our denial to deny, making it mean anything that doesn't serve your happiness, your well-being, your joy, your peace, your prosperity, your lovingness, your beauty, your, I don't know, what are you working on? That. Because my beloved, gorgeous, beautiful human friend, you really do deserve a life that transcends even your most glorious imagination. Thank you for listening. I will see you next time.